this world. We all want our voices to be heard. Everyone wants a chance to be someone.
Well, welcome everybody, and today we are here with Super Joe Wallace, a name that has been synonymous with dirt track racing here around the Midwest and the Kansas City area and beyond for a long time. And Joe is going to be inducted into the Carb Hall of Fame for 2015. First off, Joe, let me say congratulations on being inducted into the Carb Hall of Fame. Boy, it's a who's who of racing here in Kansas City, and it's a good thing to see you in there with them.
Well, yeah,
You raced with a lot of them, beat a lot of them.
well, I'd quit if I didn't ever win one. So.
I was going to say, that's what somebody told me when I was researching into doing your interview, was it says Joe was there to win in any way, shape, or form, more or less.
Yeah. Well, I tried. I loved it. And if I was gonna do my life over, why, I would probably choose the same thing.
Do the same thing, same
I would
way.
just do it a little bit different,
Wouldn't we all? I think we'd all do that.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be arguing with anybody. And
I heard about some of those. We won't go into that. Anyway, from what I understand, Joe, when you kind of developed this interest in racing, more or less was just from driving by Lakeside Speedway there, the old track on Leavenworth Road, but that kind of got your racing blood going a little bit.
Well, I think it was early in the evening, the first time I went by there, and I heard all that noise. And that's exciting to me. So.
And it was a tremendous place to be. The old Lakeside Speedway was definitely one of the hot spots in Kansas City around that time. The very first car that you decided to take racing is a Studebaker. Now, I can't believe that rascal would have been too competitive. How was it?
Well, that Studebaker, it's got a engine that'll almost run with a Chevrolet.
Oh, yeah.
And it had pretty good car, but I liked the looks of it, because it had looked streamlined, because the nose was low,
fins in the back,
and all that stuff. So
thought it'd make a good race.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had the guy that drove the grader around there, took care of the racetrack. Why? He told me to put a airplane shock on my right rear wheel. Yeah, hold that up. See, whatever. Well,
an airplane shock. Okay.
Yeah.
So much for that.
Yeah.
You do come back, I think, with a '55 Chevrolet, and as so often happens in racing, why, you were kind of I wouldn't say cheating at the rules, but you were pushing the rules, and you're running a different motor. What kind of motor were you running in there?
Oh, I had a Corvette. I was in the winter. I was like a snowbird and go. I graduated from high school and went to Phoenix College out there, and so I kind of liked that. And anyway, I ended up with this Corvette 2 weeks after I bought it. Why, it got stolen. Took them 2 more weeks to find it up in a canyon up towards Flagstaff. But anyway,
you recovered that motor out of there.
Yeah, and so I had that Well, and it was fuel injected,
Yeah.
and they stole the fuel injection off of it, but they didn't take the motor, and they ran it down in, drove it off in this canyon, and so there wasn't that much left.
Not that
of
much
it.
left.
But anyway, I thought, well, shoot, now I'm going. I got something probably ahead of it, because back in that day, a hobby stock, you had to run the engine that came in that car. See?
Right. Yeah.
And it just wasn't right.
It slipped by, though. I take it you got by with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess they didn't know that much about it.
Yeah. As they say nowadays,
It's whoever the tech man was.
As they say nowadays, it was within the spirit of the rules, not necessarily
Yeah.
within the rules.
Yeah.
But you're running this 55 Chevy over at Riverside now. Is that, I presume, where you ran your first race, was over at Riverside?
No, I didn't go over there at first.
Yeah.
They have those figure-8 cars out there. They're fun to watch, but I wouldn't want to get into that. But some of the guys there, they didn't have real good stuff.
Real good equipment. No,
Yeah.
I can understand that. Sometime right in this framework of time that we're talking about here, you were actually got into driving a sprint car for Jack Potter. Do you recall how that all came about? I mean, did Jack approach you about driving, or did somebody not show up one night?
No, he just asked me one day. He had a guy driving, but he wanted to run Sportsman, run a carburetor, and because he didn't like the speed, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why he'd want to race.
Yeah.
But,
well, this was kind of not like what we call a B mod today, but it was a sprint or a super modified. Is it?
Well, he asked me. He says, "You want us to put fuel injection on it?" I said, "Well, yeah. How am I? These other guys got it.
Why not? I want to go as fast as they do."
Yeah.
Oh shoot! Do you remember any wins or good times in that car? Or?
I won it well, and then I got to running. He liked to go to Riverside, but he'd go to Topeka and
race at Olympic then.
Yeah, Olympic.
Yeah.
You know, Kenny Weld. He was promoting there and Topeka, and he kind of gave me some pointers.
Yeah, boy, you couldn't get something any better than that, could you?
No.
Yeah, that's and you did this. I think you corrected me earlier. You did that for 2 years instead of just 1 year. With Jack.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a lot of fun though, but you got that experience.
Jack was a lot of fun in himself, let alone racing.
Yeah. I know there's always lots of stories.
He put a big old, not a big old tire, but on the front end. Why he just had some regular car tires. It was like, and bald. They didn't have any ticket. He says, well, you don't. That doesn't do anything. You just got to get it in there. We get the stagger right, and you're gonna.
You'll do the rest.
Step on the gas. Why? Maybe we'll get lucky and do something.
You built a Chevelle. I don't know what year it was in particular, but
I think it was
66. Is that? I can't remember.
No, it was like a Hey, I don't know. It was like a
Somewhere in that era.
yeah,
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 okay.
a couple of years newer than that.
Give or
Well,
take.
I don't even know now when they started that Chevelle thing.
But you're running a race up at the Topeka Fairgrounds, and the thing that you told me is that you liked running up there because it was a rough track, but yet it was really fast. But they're running a 50 lapper up there, and you're saying that Terry Phillips was there that night, and he was saying he didn't particularly like that track.
Yeah, yeah, he told me. I said, boy, he says, I don't see how you guys get around this thing here. He was having trouble,
Yeah.
but he's fast when he had trouble anyway.
He was always, but you put it on him that night, I guess. 50 lapper,
Well,
won
yeah.
that deal.
Yeah. Well, and ran down at Rollo a couple of times in Missouri.
Yeah. I heard you won the last race they won at Rolla. I heard that somebody was telling. I think Larry Harvey told me that. But that's all right. Go ahead. Talk
Anyway, oh well, and Larry and Terry Brumley,
Brumley.
they, Terry worked for
Okay.
Larry, and so they were both in this race. And anyway, I got on. It was I don't know. It was, I think it was a 50 lap race.
Yeah.
And anyway, I didn't know if I did doing anything right or not, because I said here I was and I show up at the track and I have these I think they were Marsh
Some kind of tires or rims?
well no, they were retreaded.
Oh, okay.
See, and I thought, oh man, those people have trouble with those just on the regular car,
Yeah.
and they have a great big wide tire and
Yeah.
all that weight and everything. Anyway, I put it on there, and Terry says, "Oh, Joe, you're not going to like those tires. Those Marsh tires, they seem good sometime and all." Anyway, so anyway, I got in there. That's what I had. So I left them on there, and doggone it. I think Larry was having some kind of trouble that night, because he wasn't doing like he normally did. and Terry Brumley was behind me, and I was leading the race.
Yeah.
And I expected both of those guys to come around me. I wasn't that experienced to begin with.
Yeah.
I got this experience that I had going around in a circle, was plowing the field for my dad, and
That was it.
going around there, turning left.
Turning left.
Yeah.
In 76, on the racetrack at the Missouri State Fairgrounds, now 2 weekends in a row. The first weekend, you win on the half mile, and then the second weekend, which I presume was probably the IMCA race they used to have down there every year, 100 lapper on the mile, and you win that. You win both of them back to back. Now how much more different was that? I mean, did it take a lot more physical strength and endurance or whatever to run that 100 lapper on the mile than it does?
I had a week to race, or to race,
You
or
had a week to rest.
wait, or to
Rest
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Were you always about the size you are now? Look like you weigh about 185, 190. Were you always that size?
I
guess
was one night. Yeah, I was this tall at one time, but I couldn't drive.
Yeah, couldn't drive.
My mom wouldn't let me drive. But anyway, that's about what I weighed.
Yeah.
I got up a little heavier. I got to 236.
Oh wow, yeah, that's pretty heavy for
pounds.
you. You're not that
Yeah.
tall. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
But this sounds like, you know, a pretty neat deal. 2 weekends in a row down there, and you pull off both the wins.
Well, yeah, I won several times down there.
Yeah. You know, really, right here around the Kansas City area, though, you're racing with some pretty good racers around here, and I think most of this was taking place at Lakeside. But guys like Wally Wall and Terry Bivens, Larry Briggs, Bill Crane, Cliff Lee, just to name a few. I mean, there were others that I'm sure were in and out all the time. But just really a lot of really good competition around the Kansas City area. Do you think that might have kind of helped prepare you for some of the racing that you did out of town? Racing with those guys all the time? Because, I mean, that's a pretty stiff bunch here.
Oh, yeah. I traveled and go where they paid more money.
They paid more. You were kind of like what they say, one of those outlaws. You went where the money was and snatched the money away from them.
Yeah, well, that was my goal to do. Get that gold.
Yeah. I was going to say, probably
April's in the other room.
Yeah. Probably like a lot of other people, though, too, you needed that money because you were kind of a budget racer, too. I mean, you never really had any real big sponsorships.
Denny Bell had Mission gas furnace and all that. And
yeah.
He sponsored Terry for
Bivens.
Yeah, for some years, and then he came down out of the stands one night and said, Joe, he said, how about, what do you don't really, well, I had like Don's Speed Shop and all. He just helped me with some parts and that kind of thing. And so anyway, he says, he and Terry, they had an argument or something.
Parting ways, yeah.
So
that happened in those times, yeah.
Anyway,
it's a racing deal.
Anyway, he wanted to know how much I'd want if he wanted to sponsor my car. And I says, well, I don't know. How much? I don't want it to make you skip breakfast or anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just said, well, you take care of my tires or something for a while. And then he got into it, and we made put together a big track car, and went to California, and a guy that had stock car products out there got talking. He had a car, and Denny was going to buy that car, and I said, no, Denny, I don't want you to do that. But anyway, we didn't do it, but we bought some parts and built a speedway car.
You know, you had several track championships too over the years. You running here around the Kansas City area. Do you recall, were there any of them that meant more to you than others? And I guess probably at the same time too, I want to ask you, did you have a favorite track? Did you prefer Lakeside over Riverside or anything like that? But did any of those track championships mean more to you than the other?
Well, the only championships I won in Kansas City was I-70 and Lakeside.
Yeah, I forgot about I-70. Yeah.
And so I kind of like going where I hadn't been before. You know.
Yeah. Race new competition.
And
see new
and you get to do some, and it just a good feeling, to be on top, someplace.
Well, I think something like that too. It challenges you more. You get to run on the same track all the time. Why? After a while, you kind of think, well, maybe I got a handle on that. Where you travel around, man, it's a different deal almost every night. 1984, you start doing quite a bit of traveling, and you were running a USAC late model race, driving for Joe Nagler at Eldora Speedway. You come away with the win on that deal. How did that all come about? Do you remember how that Nagler approached you about driving, or?
Well, no, Joe didn't have a car at that time, and I had a car, and he offered to build me an engine, because I had an engine that had plenty of cubic inches, but
not many horsepower.
Well, it was had too much dome on the pistons, and it had too much compression. It was compression bound. And it just labored all the time.
Okay.
So anyway, and so Joe took that motor and took the pistons out of it and cut the compression down on it. And then it went pretty good.
So. But Eldora Speedway, did you make it up there quite a bit, or was this kind of just one-time deal plus running?
No, I was up there. Been up there a couple of times.
And running with USAC, did you do quite a few races with USAC?
Yeah, I ran at College Station, Texas, and several places.
With them.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of big name drivers running with
Well,
them?
it was like in Des Moines, Iowa. I went up there, and Don White was there, and Ramos Scott, and
Scott, yeah.
It just and there, I mean, they had a bunch of good racers in that, for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. I was going to say they had some big name boys running with those guys. The first time that they decide to run a late model race at Knoxville, you go up there and you win that thing, and I think you told me you won $5,000. Man, that was a ton of money for those days, wasn't it?
Oh. At that time, I think that was my record.
That was the highest paid win you had, huh?
Yeah.
And there again, was that a sanctioning deal with anybody? Was that, or it was an open race and people came from all over?
Well, they could, they used to, back in the day, if you didn't race with somebody, and everybody's wanting to have a good field of cars.
Yeah.
And so you could buy a pass to get in and run it,
Okay. Yeah.
without really belonging to their
organization. Yeah. Do you? What did you think about running in Knoxville? I mean, of course, it's always been one heck of a sprint car track, and had they, made a fortune running up there. But as a late model driver, what did you think about Knoxville?
I love it. I love every racetrack, but I had two cars, and I had a Camaro, and that I ran up there that time. I raced up there more than more than
Just that
2
one
or
time.
3 times.
Oh, okay.
But and Dave Wall, he didn't have a car, and I let him drive. I had a car that I got from Ed Sanger, and I let Dave drive that it wasn't
Qualifying races.
it was a race, but it was like a lesser.
Consolation race.
No, I think it.
Anyway.
Anyway, Dave got in it, and shoot, he got going and got around there, and shoot, he was 3/4 of the. He ran 3/4 of the race, anyway, something happened and he lost his bite or something, but he was going to win that race.
He was moving. I'll be darned.
So.
You've also done quite a bit of asphalt racing at I-70, like you say, had a points championship out there. Did you have any preference over dirt or asphalt? I know we talked about it there a little bit a while ago, and you'd say, well, this was okay for asphalt and this was good for dirt, but as far as a driver, did it make any difference to you?
Well, I liked one about as good as the other if the results were right.
I was going to say, as long as you were taking the money home, it didn't make no difference.
Well, I didn't take all that much money.
Well, it hasn't changed a whole lot. I hear a lot of the guys saying the same thing today, but anyway, especially that run on a weekly basis. But I think you were saying that, for one thing, like the dirt, tires weren't as expensive, but yet on the asphalt, why, it was just a lot cleaner operation. And
yeah, but it was the dirt is more fun than running on the pavement.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I talked to you on the phone there 3 or 4 days ago, you told me that you thought, man, it was more fun driving into the corner, a lot harder, and having that thing kind of sliding around a little bit. Seat of the pants stuff, I guess we could call that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
You know,
I had who they had that song, Pink Carnation, or
yeah, a white sports coat and a pink carnation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Oh, Robbins. Marty Robbins.
Yeah, Marty Robbins. Marty Robbins drove my USAC car one time.
Oh, really?
Over at Sedalia, and he was doing a show after the fair.
Yeah.
And I had 2 cars, and so I called Marty up, and I said, Marty, I got this car, and you're coming to Sedalia and you're having a concert after the race, because we race on in the afternoon. You know, they didn't have lights, and he said, well, yeah, sure, I'd like that, you know. Anyway, he got there, and he came over one time, and I thought it was kind of funny, but he came back and asked me. He says, where do you let up on this racetrack, you know? Mm-hmm. I says, when I get to the corner, maybe, or I might wait and get off of it in the apex of the corner and come off. Why, if I'm heading the right direction, I get going. He says, "Oh no," he says, "I always pick out a post or or something, to
let off."
Yeah, and I says, "Well, I can't help you there. I just,
you have to figure that out for yourself, huh?
No." But he thought that was kind of funny.
I bet he did. Joe.
And he ran got up out of the
groove,
across the and ran into it and bent the frame on it, but he was a good sport, and he rented a car from somebody then. And he drove somebody else's car, and he did better with that.
You drove. I know we've talked a couple of times here, and you've talked about how you've driven so much out of state. I mean, once again, we just don't have time to go into all of the places, but like we've talked about, Eldora, you ran at Manzanita, and you won the Western World Championships out there at Manzanita. Iowa,
Challenger,
Texas,
and California, and went down to Speed Week one time in my car, and I swore not to go back down there again ever, and run any dirt, because they got the sand down there, and they can't get it to stick together. And then they came to find out I went down there. I thought, well, I'm going to Florida, so I'm gonna have to get a new fire suit. And so I go down there, and I got this pretty fire suit, and got in there and went out and did some hot laps and that, and I get out and I look down, and black, and the dirt they threw in me, I got behind somebody, and they ruined my fire suit. And I says, and they were the wildest bunch of guys, because there's only one groove around the track down there when they get it done, and so it's kind of follow the leader, unless you're got something else figured out. But anyway, if you didn't hit the car that was in front of you, if he was holding you up, you'd want to punch him or get him wiggling or something out of the groove. But anyway, they'd just run over. They
push you out of the way and everything.
and anyway, started that race, and the very first lap, a guy got sideways and on the back straightaway, and cars were going everywhere. Well, I got clear off in the grass, off of the racetrack, and to go by. I started pretty much up to the front, but where you are. But anyway. And anyway, he ran into me and broke the battery. I had the battery in the back there. And anyway, broke that.
It's a different thing down there. I know what you're talking about. It's different racing.
I'm not really that ornery, but I went in. It was at. It's clear up on the. I can't even think where it was. But it had a nice racetrack, but you had to drive down the drag strip to get to the and then get in and go over the track, where you need to do that. Well, anyway, they blasted me down there, and anyway, the at the end of the race, and well, this was in 1976, and it was
a dirt race.
Yeah, but it was the
You talking about the type of cars?
no, I'm talking about what the race was. They wanted, it was America's 76th year or something,
Oh,
or
1776.
whatever it
Yeah.
was. I don't know.
Yeah, 200th anniversary.
And so anyway, that racetrack, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning before they got done, because they just kept running into each other.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, I loaded my car up. I was loading it up and getting everything
Yeah.
tied down and all, and so, and I wasn't paying that much attention to it, of course, but you could hear the noise let off, and people were getting towed off and everything. But anyway, there was a Danny Dean that raced out of Ohio, and then guy from Nebraska was up there, out there, and it was at Jacksonville. And anyway, I came around there, and I got all loaded up and everything, and here's this Danny Dean and
The other guy.
yeah, in Nebraska. And anyway, I says, well, shoot, they're pretty much done here. I think it was a 76 lap race.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For this big
200th
deal.
anniversary.
Well, anyway, I says, well, I'm going. I'm out of here.
Uh-huh.
They were like had 16 or 26 laps made or something.
Oh.
And I was all loaded up and ready to go.
Mhm.
And I told him, I says, well, I'm gonna go out, and they had a red flag at that time, see, so I backed out in the pits part, and I have to go around the track and go out over the between 3 and 4 turns.
Yeah,
see?
get out of the track.
Yeah, and so anyway, they I mean, they're the way they're racing.
Yeah.
Everybody has to have a salvage yard or something to have the parts. And anyway, so they were getting ready to start the race again, and they must have flagged it a dozen times anyway, because they just no sense.
Yeah,
and
they just weren't happy with you leaving then, huh?
Well, yeah, because I get out, and I backed out in the deal, and they were waiting around, and so anyway, here they come, and they're putting the cars on the track. Well, I just after they flagged the cars and they went by as fast as they could go, and anyway, so I just put my truck out and behind them, and went around the racetrack and out over the curb, and I'm waving, and the crowd was booing me and everything, and I'm waving, and Galen Schaefer was riding with me. He was down there with Mike Means. Anyway, I went out over that and had to drive down the drag strip, and I'm waving and going on, and here comes these Florida blue lights out of the first of the out of up by the grandstand, see, and came down the road and set up a roadblock down the road there, see. And he gets out, and he's got these aviator sunglasses on at 2:00 in the morning, and he he says, "Where are you going?" And I says, "Well, I'm going home." Because the 500 was over with, and anyway, he said, "Well, how do you get out of the racetrack at home?" And I said, "Well, it's just like this. You got to go around and go off over the berm and go on." He said, "But when the race is still on?" And I says, "Well, I was done." And Galen, and when he saw those lights coming, and he said, "Joe, we're going to go to jail." I says, "Well, they don't. You got to have a law on your books before they put you in jail."
Oh, shoot.
So,
well,
anyway.
that's funny. You know, one of the last times that you did get on the track, you were actually at the Kansas Speedway, and you bought a car, and things didn't go so good on that deal, though, did it?
No, I mean, the car ran all right, but the radios gave up. I don't know. You couldn't hear when I got up and got going, and we practiced and had the radios going, and they were working. But we put another one on, and something was the matter with it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get to be on the track with that.
Yeah. Plus, I understand you had some trouble with ARCA. They give you the not the speed control, but the electronics for the car.
Oh, yeah.
Set up for
all the ignition. They had all that stuff, and you just put it in on your dash and have it down. I had that down, but it was wired different than the ignition that I had.
Yeah.
So.
Just not really a good experience. And, I think you said you qualified behind John O'Neill, and this thing's never got any better during the race.
Well,
either.
he didn't. I didn't even know that anything was the matter with him, because he came around there, and of course I'm down ahead of him, and when he came by, and so I pull out there and I get it going and get in the groove there, and it come around, and it just lets go all at once. Well, after the thing was all over with and all, he comes up and tells me, "Well, my car spit out or puked water out in
that's why you
the track
out
over there."
Ah, okay.
So I said, "Well, thanks for telling me." I guess you didn't have any chance to tell me, but no.
Well, Joe, I saw, like I've told you many times, saw you race many a race, and had a lot of fun doing it, and really enjoyed it. And I just want to say once again, congratulations on being inducted in the Carb Hall of Fame.
Well, it's a real thing for me. I thought about that first time when I knew anything about carb, and I'd think anybody'd be feeling
pretty good about it.
good about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
have something to.
I understand. Well, like I say, once again, congratulations, man, on getting into the Powerball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming and talking to me.
Okay. Had fun. I enjoyed.
We all have dreams we need to dream, but sweeter than every star you can reach is when you reach and find you found someone. You'll hold this world's most priceless thing, the greatest gift this life can bring. If you can look back and know you were loved, you were loved by someone, touched by someone, held by someone, meant something to someone.